Ooh, cool. So we're live now. Evening, folks. Welcome to the first ever sort of live stream episode of Touchline Hotspur. Before we get into it, this episode, just make sure you're following us on all the socials, Touchline Fracas on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc., etc. Make sure you're following our handle, Spurs_Touchline on Twitter and on Instagram as well. I got a colorful row of guests with us today as well, and we got some usual familiar faces as well. Owen, what are you saying? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Just came back from trying to get Project Van der Vaart off the floor. It's a slow progress. Getting there, but,
oh yeah, cool. So what is he going to play for Spurs? Yeah,
play for whoever he wants. Ideally for Spurs. We'll see how we are at the time.
Cool. Ohio, what are you saying? Yeah, I see you in your colorful gold do-rag, man.
Yeah,
you came in to shine today, right?
Trying to give myself some powers after last night, man. It's techie. Bro, being a Tottenham fan in Liverpool right now is the biggest oxymoron I've ever lived.
Oh, God. Yeah. I completely forgot, innit? Because you're up there.
Listen, I walk down the roads. No one even knows I'm a Spurs fan. I don't want to look me in the eye, bro. It's mad, bro.
And then, of course, we got our two guests, fresh from chatting to D Studge himself, boy. I saw you wearing your best white polo for that.
Come on, man. You have to bring out the Draper style.
What are you not saying?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, we're good, man.
Good, man. I know I can see you all. You're all smiling. You're grinning teeth. It can only mean one thing. But apologies. Before we get into the actual game yesterday, we wanted to sort of run through our agenda. We wanted to sort of touch on the Palace result that we had on the weekend. And the thing is, we felt that obviously you lot would be best to speak on Palace as well, you know, the Eze links, etc., etc. And you lot have actually got Crystal Palace coming up too, so it makes sense. So Owen, why don't you sort of take us away? Because I know you mentioned discussing this game. So just Crystal Palace, 1-1 draw, Harry Kane goal, Guaita masterclass, as you give us your thoughts. What was your take on that game?
That Guaita was absolutely ridiculous. But firstly, it is a hard game for us. As we know, like over the years, we haven't scored more than one goal there in the last 3-4 years, maybe even more. I hadn't looked that far back, but it's always been a struggle for us and a small pitch. But to be honest, we've had one of the best first halves that I've seen us have, maybe even since West Ham or Newcastle. Like we were sustaining pressure really well and getting attack after attack off. Like even when teams usually counter us, we don't even tend to have any form of counter press whatsoever. We'll tend to kind of retreat back and inshallah. But we even had a high defensive line. Dier was even stepping out the defensive line to help out, and we forced these ridiculous saves out of Guaita from. And Ndombele had this half volley in the area, which I had jumped up and celebrated, thinking it had gone in.
So did I.
Harry Kane had a header from point blank range, ridiculous save again. And then, luckily, through all the pressure, we actually managed to force an error out of this ridiculous guy. But then, yeah, I mean, even with that, we did concede a few half chances to Zaha. He still looked dangerous, but I was really happy with that first half. But the second half was a complete polar opposite. Like we decided to just invite an insane amount of pressure, and I was in and out of the second half of this game because my son he was full of beans. But every time I looked up, we conceded a free kick or a corner, and it was strange because even when we tried to get some counters off ourselves, like the game suited us. We were 1-0 up. We tried to counter, even with, I'd say it was limited pressure from Palace. But I didn't really see many players showing for the ball. There wasn't really many runs in behind. Like I didn't think that was Jose's instruction or any slut on him. I think it was more maybe the effort levels dropping in our players, and we didn't necessarily rate them as a threat from open play. But it seemed inevitable with the amount of set pieces that we were conceding, their fans being back. They have Benteke in the box, even though he's been abnormal over the years. He's still a threat from set pieces. Gary Cahill gets his critics defensively, but he's still ridiculous in the air as well. So
I wanted to before I know that good analysis, to be honest. Ohio, before I come to you, so Dej, I wanted to come to you next because that comment just reminded me of Eze as well. So they spoke about the emerging importance of Eze to Crystal Palace before the game was before a ball was even kicked, because obviously they just come off the back of beating West Brom 5-1. But do you think that the way in which Roy Hodgson is using Eze now for Crystal Palace is sort of like the most optimal way to use him? Because I know obviously he plays the 4-4-2, Zaha and Benteke up top, and then Eze on the left-hand side. And it seems like Eze's got this understanding with Wilfried Zaha now. Do you think that that's a partnership that they can build on, or you reckon Eze is best served sort of playing more centrally?
Yeah, I think Eze's best position is definitely centrally. When we spoke to him on our podcast, he said he prefers to be in that number 10 role. But I think for the way Palace line up in that 4-4-2, it actually brings out a better layer in Wilfried Zaha, because now Eze sort of that distraction. Wolf can get centrally and he's much more efficient. But I think obviously Roy Hodgson, he's a very, defensive, pragmatic manager. I've actually gone to Selhurst Park this season to watch them against Brighton, and you can sort of hear the way he gives instructions to his team. He's always cautious, that watch the counter-attack, sit back. He's not really expansive. But I think this season for Ebbs is just about becoming a Premier League player, putting your feet under the table. And I think playing out on that left is the best way to introduce him into the Prem.
Now, Ohio, do you think we did enough to, because I know obviously Owen was talking about the disappointing second half there. He says that it wasn't really, he doesn't think that it was probably a Jose Mourinho instruction per se, but do you think that we did enough to counteract the sort of the growing threat that Palace carried when they moved that ball forward in the second half, especially on the left-hand side?
Yeah, I think generally, we said in our preview pod that the main, it was a packed pod, but what we could say of Palace was that the main threat was always going to be from Zaha and Eze, and I said that was going to be one of Aurier's bigger tests this season. Zaha was still a danger man, Eze was still a danger man. I think Aurier handled himself quite well, to be honest. He didn't have any moments of madness. I didn't really see him get ripped up, so I was quite happy in that regard. Thank you, J Spurs. I picked the durag especially for tonight. But then also, so instruction-wise, I think looking on the face of it, you would assume that Jose said, yeah, sit back, protect it. But I don't know, it didn't really feel like that's what we were doing, because normally when that's the instruction, we look comfortable doing it. Like if we do bring it out, that there is, we look more inclined to actually break. I think Son was quite quiet in the second half. I'm not sure if that was more down to him, or we seem to just have a genuine inability to hold on to the ball in the middle third. And then when you looked at Jose's comments after the game, he essentially said, I actually didn't tell everyone to sit back. My instructions for the first half were the exact same for the second half. And I think I'm speaking a bit verbatim here, but what he essentially said was that the people that were playing, they just didn't have the ability to keep the ball between that first and second third. So I think it was, obviously, you don't want to put blame anywhere per se, but I think it was probably a little bit more on the players not really just stringing a couple passes together to get it out, to be honest, rather than Jose.
Okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, either way, it's just weird, because considering the way we played in the first half, you would have thought the logical move was to try and press the issue again and get the second goal and kill the game off. And Crystal Palace, to their credit, they really came back strong in the second half and put us. I know obviously they didn't create any chances, but it felt that goal was coming. Like that, the pressure was building and building and building. Dot, I wanted to come to you on this as well. So Crystal Palace now, generally, I know obviously you lot are playing them next. Do you think that they? I'm trying to think of it now. Benteke, 3 goals in these last 4 games. Wilfried Zaha on course to have his best ever Premier League season. He's now playing Eze on the left-hand side as well. Do you think that we're seeing a slight shift from Roy Hodgson to try and get some semblance of a consistent attacking threat with Crystal Palace this season right now?
I'm not sure. Dej was talking about the game that he went to versus Brighton, I believe, and he was saying Crystal Palace were very defensive, but I went to the game versus Leeds and they played fantastic attacking football. Eze won man of the match. He was conducting the play. And I slightly disagree with what Dej said, because Dej said Eze is a number 10, but I do believe for now his best position is from the left, because he can cut in and get into that 10 area and create cutting into his right foot. So I think that's a good position for him. As for Roy Hodgson, I'm not sure, because we all know that Palace have the tools to be dangerous against the top 6 club. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they took points versus Spurs or they took points versus Liverpool. But it's when they play teams like Brighton, Newcastle, that's where you see them sit back and try and counter, and it just doesn't make sense. One week I think, yeah, Palace, wow, they're turning the corner. Next week I'm thinking Roy needs to go. And I think what they need to do is get that balance right, because they do have the quality in attack now to put teams to bed.
Now, fair enough, actually, and just going back on our game as well. So I wanted to touch on something which we saw. We'll speak about the Liverpool game, but Crystal Palace, they scored from a set piece. We conceded from a set piece pretty late on. We conceded from a set piece against Everton when we lost that game. We conceded from a set piece against West Ham when we went on to draw that game. From the outsider looking in, do you lot think that this is an issue that we're struggling to contain right now, or do you think it's a bit of misfortune on our side?
To be honest, I'm impressed with Tottenham. And I hate to say it because I don't like Jose Mourinho, but from what I've seen this season, fair play. But in my opinion, the last 2 games are the reason why Tottenham won't win the title. I think just that second half performance against Crystal Palace, it really disappointed me, because as Owen said, in the first half, you were dominating, pressing the action. And I was thinking, wow, Tottenham look like a serious team this season. And then second half, you go into your shell. Any team that wants to win a title, you go out there in the second half and you keep that intensity and you put Crystal Palace to bed. And I just think the way you approach that second half is not the mentality of a title-winning team, in my opinion. I think to win a league now, you need to attack the league, not defend it.
But this is the philosophy that Jose Mourinho comes with. And Tottenham, for me, are definitely title contenders. When you look at Arteta, Lampard and Oli, these are 3 managers that are novices at the top level. And obviously you've got Klopp, Pep and Mourinho. So I think Tottenham won't win the league, but I think they're solid. But I think when you go through their team, there's deficiencies. Me, I'm still not a fan of Eric Dyer at the back. I think he's a limited centre-back. But the way Mourinho plays the game, that obviously masks his deficiencies. But, you know, winning a title with Eric Dyer and, you know, aging Alderweireld, I can't see it. If Tottenham can maintain this and stay, 3-4 points off the top, go into the transfer window. They were linked with Skriniar. I know Steve Hitchen went to Italy to try and get that deal done. If they can maybe get him, I would probably have more faith. But as it stands, Tottenham are a title contender, but they won't win it, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
And I don't think you can consistently rely on Kane and Son to deliver. Even though I feel they will deliver throughout the season, there's going to be some games where they're not having a good game or they're not coming up with that decisive action. And then who's next? Who's next in line to take that mantle? And I've been very disappointed with Bergwijn. Gareth Bale seems like he's come back to London to just have a holiday, if we're being totally honest. Like, Lucas Moura, I've never been convinced by him. I don't think he's that good of a player. So if Kane or Son get a bad injury, what happens next to Tottenham? And I think that's the massive question for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant segue onto our onto the game that we actually played in yesterday, because obviously you mentioned Bergwijn now. Actually, Bergwijn's been he's been one. To be honest, our fan base can be quite toxic at times, even getting all sorts of unnecessary abuse. People commenting on his Instagram page and stuff like that. You see when people take football to a stupid level, they don't need to take it. But let's actually talk about his performance yesterday as well, because he's in the lineup yet again. I think that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, Owen or Ohio, but that's his sort of 5th consecutive start now in the league. 4th or 5th consecutive start now in the league. So he's getting game time now. And Owen, I actually want to come to you on this as well. So we spoke about this in detail in our chat. So with Steven Bergwijn, What do you think it is that's sort of stopping him from, I don't know, like being that decisive factor in games for us? Because, like you lot pointed out, the general sort of work ethic is there, the willingness to work for the team is there, and even some of the sort of cute, neat sort of interplay between teammates is there. He's an intelligent player, so why is he suffering this sort of loss of form that's literally been stretching since the back of last season?
Firstly, I think it's just a little cliche of just getting that confidence back to be able to clutch a game like he did for us against Man City, and he looked like he was coming back quite fresh in some of the Project Restart games, but it didn't quite happen for him. Maybe he was still recovering from this injury. I'm not too sure. Even like in the Europa League games, leading up to that international break where he got sent home for fitness issues or the injury issues, whatever that ended up being, I don't even think we found out the truth on that one. But he lacks the explosiveness that he had before in some of these games before the international break. He's come back, he's worked his way back in. I see his confidence building each game. Like, I'm seeing him now take on players. He wasn't really doing that before. His explosiveness looks back. He's doing his due diligence in terms of what Jose's instructing him to do, which is essentially being a defensive winger. But even despite those constraints, he's still getting himself in these attacking positions. Like, I felt like he was our best attacker yesterday. Generally, he was our biggest threat against Liverpool and Chelsea, I thought. So I think he just needs a goal just to really elevate him and set him alight, and he can then hit a nice pocket of form, I think.
Fair enough. Ohio, what's your take? What's your take on the Bergwijn situation before we actually get into the match itself?
Yeah, okay. I'll try not to talk too much on the match. Just not too dissimilar to what Owen was saying. You know, I remember reading a while ago that even when he scored against United, against David De Gea's fantastic goalkeeping on the day, I think he was still carrying a knock, because I think he had like 3-4 games before lockdown, and then I think 2 weeks before lockdown or something like that, he had an injury. He was out for 3 months. So I'm of the belief he was actually still playing with an injury against United. I don't really know what to say about his conditioning, because when it comes to getting sent home from the Netherlands, because the word fitness can mean anything, or being match fit can mean anything. I think he's done. Jose wouldn't play somebody. I think it surprised me at first when he started playing over Lucas, because Lucas is Mr. Dog Work. You know, we've said many times in the chat that we know you're clearly his biggest fan, Tobes, but
yeah,
he's a very archetypal, you know, work first, production second kind of player that Jose tends to like if he's got 2 killers up top. So I think Jose's obviously seen enough in him, rather than him just being the best of a bad bunch. He's definitely seen there is something extra in there. But then when it comes to actual productivity, obviously we know it's not good enough at the moment. Like we're not gonna hide from that. But I think he's been making those incremental gains progressively. You know, there were some games, I think was it Ludogorets away or Lask away. There was an early Europa game where he just wasn't with it. We were all losing our heads in the group chat, like what's happened to this guy? We don't understand. But you know, like we're gonna go on the Liverpool game in a second. But I just thought he's looked incrementally better. It will come. It gives me, you know, Son first season was probably better than Bergwijn is now, but Son didn't have that injury problem. It gives me Son first season vibes, where it's like it's not quite clicking yet, but I think it will come.
Yeah, I think he's got the talent. He's got the talent, and I feel like he's got the mentality as well. We just need to see it now on the pitch. So, I'm actually going to come to you next on this. So, what were you thinking when you saw our starting lineup yesterday, and you saw Ben Davies and Serge Aurier starting on either side? Because seasons in the past, I'm sure Liverpool fans will probably see those 2 fullbacks lining up for us, and you're probably licking your lips. You're not licking your lips. So, what was your take on their performances generally yesterday?
I think Serge Aurier was fantastic. I think that's one of the best defensive performances I've seen versus Sadio Mane. And I think actually Ole Einar, the previous week, done very well against Mane as well. I think Ben Davies had a good game. I think he got tired towards the end. So I knew what Mourinho was coming to do. This is, you know, set up shop and try to score a random goal. And obviously that's what happened. It was 1-0. And then next minute they're showing a replay, and then Son is in behind 1-on-1 with Alisson, and I'm like, how has this happened? This has to be offside. But I think that is the tactic: beat the press and get the ball through to the final third as quick as possible. And if you do that, you're going to get blood. But I think what Liverpool done is that they just suffocated the pitch. They didn't allow Tottenham to spring as many times as they would have wanted to. And to be honest, I think Kane and Son generally yesterday were a bit disappointing. I think they had poor games when it comes to retaining the ball and breaking at Liverpool. So to be honest, when it got to the 85th minute, I was like, you know what? Let's take the 1-1 and let's get out of it, because I know what Mourinho is capable of. He's capable of scoring a last-minute winner and taking all 3 points. But for us to get the win, I think that's going to be a big confidence boost for this Liverpool team, and I see them going on from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you lot are still the team to beat, to be honest. I know obviously a lot of people are saying that we're going to win the title and whatnot, but I feel like there needs to be a certain level of respect at the same time as well, to actually understand the sizable task that we have ahead to actually topple you lot, considering the players you're missing as well. But Dej, I actually wanted to come to you next as well. So Jose Mourinho made some comments. He made some comments saying the better team lost. Now we had because we have a live Discord chat whenever we watch these games, and we had a debate after the game about Tottenham being Spursy and who played better, etc., etc. So what was your take on Jose Mourinho's comments? Like, what's your take on how you lot played versus how we played? Like, just let me know your thoughts.
First 25 minutes, I think we bossed it. That was a relentless, typical Liverpool of old, swarming you, putting you under pressure. Then once we got the goal, I thought, you know what, this is going to be 2 or 3. Like, we were looking like our tails were up. I saw Eric Dyer, his head was down, it was on his haunches. Then like, we were dominating, putting crosses in. He didn't have big chances though. That's one thing I can say. You restricted us to like long distance efforts, and you sort of contained us well. Then after your goal, we sort of seemed to lose our way, and Tottenham grew into the game. I would disagree. I don't think that was a typical Jose Mourinho performance. In the second half, there was a stage where he said, you know what, I think we've got these lot for the taking. When he brought off Lo Celso, brought on Lucas Moura, we started to see a much more, attacking impetus from Tottenham. Then I was thinking, wow, this game's going to end for a draw. That was my prediction before the game. I think Tottenham should be happy with the performance, because I thought once you conceded that first goal, you were going to go down under. But I think Mourinho would have looked at the team and think, you know what, this is my personality. I put my stamp on this team. But, conceding a last-minute winner, especially from the set piece. And I think I was reading before the game, Tottenham haven't conceded a goal from a set piece this season or something like that. I believe. Something like that. I'm not sure if it's true, but...
Maybe directly.
Maybe direct from a corner or something like that. Yeah, so I think when you lose a game in that manner, it's always demoralizing. And one thing I'll say about the game is it was more Tottenham's game than Liverpool's game. I think Tottenham played the way they wanted to play. They imposed their style of play onto Liverpool. But yeah, I think, Tottenham shouldn't be too disheartened. As we were saying on the pod yesterday, that game won't define Tottenham's season. It's not a big blow to their title aspirations, because I still think Liverpool dropped points across the season, and no team's probably going to win 7-8 games in a row.
I don't think it's a big blow, but I don't think it sends the right message saying that Tottenham shouldn't be disappointed if they want to win a title. I think when you look at the Man Cities and the Liverpools over the past 3 years, they go away from home and they get results versus the big six. I don't think
that's my point though. Like, this is not going to be a season where the winning team has 100 or 98 points. That's not going to happen. So I think the points tally is going to be lower. So I think in this special season, it's not going to have any effect, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you made a good point, Edge, on the performance per se, because a lot of opposition, a lot of Liverpool fans after the game were coming out saying, "Oh, that's what Jose gets for parking the bus and whatnot." And
it wasn't.
And so someone's actually put a comment here about the Jose style only looks good if
I don't think it was a bust. Let's be real. Just because you have clear-cut chances, it doesn't take away the fact that it was a bust. This is his approach against Real Madrid when he was playing versus Pep Guardiola. He may have big chances, but it's a bust. Because when you look at how the big chances came, the two at the start of the second half, they were literally just long random balls, flick-ons, and you were in. So I don't think that's any sort of attacking intent. That's just poor defensive shape from Liverpool.
No, but I
I
think
think first half it was a bust, 25 minutes. Then I think his ambition grew as the game drew on. That's my analysis of the game, and I think we only ever got Tottenham disorganized once, and that was from Reece Williams' tackle when Salah was running through and going that channel, and he had that right foot shot. So I think Tottenham definitely imposed their style on the game more than what Liverpool would have liked.
Yeah, and I was actually going to come to you next on this, Ohio, as well, because you lot know me as well. I'm a big Jose Mourinho critic. I don't like I don't like his style at its worst, and I felt like last season it was only one way we could play. But to his credit, this season, I actually think that he's been able to mix it up. Like, there have been games where we've taken the game to the opposition, and of course, inevitably, there have been games where we've sat back. I actually agree with Dej, and I was going to come to you on this next, Ohio, because for me, that substitution he made with Lo Celso for Mora, for instance, he could have brought on Ndombele, he could have brought on whoever, but he specifically brought on Lucas Moura for one reason only, to put Lucas Moura on the right-hand side and to be ready to actually attack when the counter is on, to attack. And I don't think we've seen that I personally don't think we've seen something like that from Mourinho outside of this season in a ground like Anfield. I feel like to do that in a ground like Anfield, to instruct the players to start pressing higher, to actually start committing more bodies forward, I think you got to give him a little bit of credit for that. I don't know. What do you think, Ohio?
I think it's hilarious that you, of all people, are asking me to give the credit.
It's ridiculous. What's going on here?
However, no, 100%. I think one of the last interviews Jose did when he was on Sky Sports, he even said that, when he's going to go back into management, he knows he has to do certain things differently. And that was, I'd always kind of held on to that comment. So I was like, I know he said this. Has he said this for lip service? Has he said this to get himself an interview? Or did he already know he was going to sign for Tottenham and he just wanted to sweeten up Daniel Levy in front of the cameras? So, I've always sort of held out hope that Jose can adapt and not be this archaic dinosaur that everyone who dislikes Tottenham thinks he is. It's promising that Jose is of the belief that we can do that. And in a weird way, like, I liked how pissed off Jose was at the end with the fact he was there like, no, like, we should have won this game. Old school Jose would have been like, yeah, 1-1's fine. Do you know what I'm saying? I think credit has to be where credit is due. And Dej, I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure if you were agreeing nor disagreeing with his comment about the best team lost, but I don't know whether I can 100% say we were the best team, but I feel like we executed our game plan and means of trying to create bigger chances and minimize Liverpool's creation of bigger chances. Yeah. Our objective, you know what I mean? No, I know what you're saying.
I disagree. How can we be praising Tottenham, Jose Mourinho, who's meant to be one of the best managers of our generation? We're praising him for losing a game versus Liverpool. It doesn't make sense. You're saying that you mitigated that. You guys are saying that Liverpool didn't create big chances. Really and truly, we did. That ball that got rolled back to Salah on the edge of the box, a player of his ability puts that in 8 out of 10 times.
When you look at the Opta stats, Liverpool created 0 big chances. Tottenham created 3 big chances. So I think that says it all. As the higher mentioned, I think that was their intention. Okay, Liverpool are going to attack. To have chances against this team, or for it to be a close game, Liverpool are going to have to initiate an attack, and that will leave the space. It wasn't going to be like a Tottenham-Chelsea game where before the game, Frank Lampard and Jose Mourinho shook hands and said, yeah, we're taking the point. Liverpool and the club are going to initiate the game, which obviously opens up opportunity, and that's where Tottenham could have exploited, but they didn't because of some poor and woeful finishes.
I want to be really, really clear. I'm not praising Jose for losing. Like I said to the boys last night and before we started recording, I've genuinely not been this upset about a Spurs. I think I'm more upset about tonight than I was about the Champions League final. I'm not going to lie to you, just because I kind of went to the league final, we're probably going to lose. It was the essence that we should have won last night, and just to sort of bank home on my point about the best team losing, if I think it's one of them ones. You guys, there's been a lot of talk about there was one point Liverpool had 209 touches of the ball in our final third, and we had 19 and all this stuff. It's I don't really think that's that relevant, because how many touches does Arsenal probably have? Arsenal probably had 70-something% of the ball, but no one's going to say they had a good game, even irrespective of us scoring 2 goals with killers up top. I think it's just a case of I think we executed our game plan probably more so after the Salah goal. To be honest, like Dej, you're right. Like we did, there's defending well, but we just couldn't get out afterwards. You know, before that 25, like I accept that bit from. But I think from that point onwards, I think we probably executed our game plan almost like as best as we could. I think Kane and Son didn't have their best nights, but I can't say I disagree entirely with Jose saying the better team lost. Very slow. I did that thought.
No, that's fair enough. But can I just shine a spotlight on Jordan Henderson? Because I think he's a player that's taken a lot of stick. But for me, he's now a world-class midfielder because...
Stop saying this, Dot. Stop saying this. Calling him Stop saying this world-class thing.
Tom, consistently, he performs to a high standard now. I mean, he was the one that, when Harry Kane was trying to break, he's the one that will win that 50-50 to get Liverpool retaining possession. I mean, Curtis Jones, what a talent. He's talent. Unreal performance, only 19. He's going to get better with time. And I think from a Tottenham point of view, that was the perfect time to go and beat Liverpool. Curtis Jones is 19. Reece Williams, 19. No recognised centre-back. Fabinho's a makeshift centre-back. That was the perfect opportunity to go to Anfield and make that statement. And for me, Tottenham failed.
I mean, we felt because we lost, so yeah.
Yeah, we did fail, but I feel like the performance is encouraging. I do hear what Ohio is saying. We may not have been quote unquote black and white the better side, but I feel like we were able to exhibit our talents well at Anfield. And by the letter of law on chances, we should be disappointed that we didn't come out of that game with at least a point, in my opinion. But on the actual back on Liverpool and Spurs as a whole, so I'm recusing myself from this because I've given my opinion on this whole Tottenham title challenge thing. I think it's too early, but I wanted to open the floor to you lot generally. So that's yourself, Ohio, Owen, as well as yourself, Dej, and Dot. So Liverpool side, I know obviously everyone considers Liverpool as still a team that's very much favourites to win the title, but Liverpool side, would you say Tottenham are the next best side in the league and the most equipped side to actually push Liverpool for a title challenge this season?
I would say so by virtue of the opposition. When we look at Pep and Manchester City, I think this is a project that's, it's reached that maturation stage. It's on its way down. When you look at Chelsea, Frank Lampard, do I believe or can I see him lifting up the Prem at the end of the season? I can't see it. I'm not going to lie. Oli at Manchester United, it's Jekyll and Hyde. They can win away against a big gun, lose at home. Arteta, I'm not even gonna. They're not in the contention. They're gone. So who does that leave? That leaves Tottenham. Right. This is a Tottenham team in their prime, and Jose Mourinho, Tottenham brought him in to win titles, and he's got that know-how, and he's got a squad that contains some world-class players. Heung-min Son now, in my opinion, is a world-class player. Harry Kane, world-class player.
Say it again.
He's reached that tier 1. Heung-min Son's reached tier 1 now. So I still think Tottenham are a bit short defensively. When Joe Rodon came in against Chelsea, he's still a young player. He's still going to find his feet. But if Tottenham get 2 or 3 injuries, that's going to decimate the squad, and that's the problem. But I think, Tottenham out of the next bunch, they're probably most likely, I would say.
I think, Toby, you did say it well, because towards the end I was thinking, okay, we might not be the best or best in terms of the top teams in terms of quality throughout the squad. However, we are probably up there with the best equipped. So yeah, it was good wording. And obviously, Des touched upon, we do have those world-class forwards. There is still a little bit of debate as to Son's world-class yet, but we've got him performing at a world-class level at the moment, so I'll definitely take it. With that, and it sounds like from some of the noises that have been going around on Good Old Football Twitter that Mourinho has been hounding Levy for some additions in January as well. Yeah. So if we can add to that and perhaps even get Skriniar or maybe even Sabitzer, there's no reason why we can't kick on to be even better equipped for a title challenge, because we've got to smell blood. When Liverpool have been still very impressive, but when they've been having some of the injuries they have, and with other teams like City, Chelsea, Man United kind of in the middle or at the end of cycles, there's no reason why we can't smell blood and at least put in a very respectable challenge.
Yeah. No, you make a fair point. Ohio?
Not a lot more to add, really. I think we still have to remember there's 25 games left, and that's just in the league. Do you know what I mean? I think we have to be honest with ourselves and the fact that, nothing less than a meaningful trophy will be deemed as we'll have made obviously progression from where we were when Jose took over, but the proper glory on top has got to come. We've all said in the group chat that a Carabao's. A lot of people think we sound entitled to this because we've not won anything since 2008, and everyone's very much entitled to their opinion. But I think a lot of us, this one's for Sai, of sound mind in the Tottenham fan base. Carabao's not enough, and if I'm being perfectly honest, an FA Cup's not enough either.
But obviously, that's more than what Pochettino won, though. So it's not enough.
We're not doing this tonight.
No, we're not doing that.
I'm asking because you guys. No. Genuine.
I see what you did. I like what you did. You've learned the game and you're holding it.
No, you guys marveled over Pochettino. I'm not being disrespectful. I love the man. I respect him as one of the top managers in the world, but he won nothing. So how can you feel entitled enough to say a FA Cup is not enough or a Carabao Cup is not enough? Surely a FA Cup or a Carabao Cup and a top 4 finish is more than enough for Tottenham, no?
I wouldn't say it's more than enough at all because, I don't want to talk about the ops down the road, but if we put it this way, a lot of them like to do this thing where they say, would you swap our last 5 years for your 5 years or our last 10 years for your last 10 years? And I will always say no, because all I have to do is look at them and I see that the FA Cup, it's just not enough. Like on the day or the week, you'll be we'll be ecstatic that we've won something. Let me not pretend I'm not gonna be happy. Like I'll be doing knee slides on the concrete down in Liverpool City Centre, bro. If we win something, of course I will. But that there needs to be. We need to go another level above that. I think we're good enough to win stuff beyond that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you look at, and I'm not trying to disrespect the FA Cup. Like a lot of us grew up watching the FA Cup when it was like quite a big time. You know what I'm saying? We have a certain appreciation for it. Like I have to large up Liverpool as well. When you had that gold kit and Michael Owen was doing the madness, that's when the FA Cup was popping. See, that's the dead nose. But it's just a case of and I don't expect everyone to agree. Every non-Spurs fan to agree. We've got to start from the bottom. But we won the Worthington Cup back in the day, and okay, fantastic. No one cared a year later. Do you know what I mean? So I don't mind if people don't agree, but I just think the squad we have, the manager we are, the killers we have up top, the manager we have, the killers we have up top, the squad depth we now have, I think we're now good enough for an FA Cup to be, okay, we're happy with that, but we need something else, in my personal opinion.
See, I would...
Sorry, Toby. I wanted to just pitch just a little question to Dot. So while obviously Klopp's got this dynasty seemingly going on now, before he kicked on, and obviously he got you guys out of your banter era, before you won the Champions League or the Premier League, would you have taken an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup to plateau you kind of back out of that era that you had at that time?
I would have, but when Klopp came through the door, it was more like, I don't give a damn about these cup competitions. So I always knew that if we do win something, it's going to be a Premier League or a Champions League.
There we go.
But
there we go.
The thing is that if Mourinho comes into Tottenham his first full season and he wins the FA Cup or Carabao Cup, surely that's acceptable and a very, very good season for Tottenham. And at the end of the day, there's no given right for Tottenham to win a Champions League or Premier League. And I learned that last season, because for Liverpool to win the Premier League in that spectacular record-breaking fashion, it's tough. One team wins at the end of the day, and Man City are brilliant. They've probably still got a better squad than Tottenham. Liverpool are brilliant. They've got a better squad than Tottenham. Jurgen Klopp, in my opinion, is a better manager than Jose Mourinho. Pep Guardiola is a better manager than Jose Mourinho. So there's no given right for Jose Mourinho to go to Tottenham and win the league, because he's got two managers and two squads that are better than him.
Can I just say, that's one thing that I've noticed, and this isn't a disservice to you, Dot, but I've noticed when some Spurs fans say we don't believe it's enough, no, we don't think we're entitled to anything, because we haven't won the league since God knows how long. Do you know what I'm saying? We didn't even have AOL when we won the league last time. You know what I mean? We're not entitled at all. That there's no God-given right to the title. Even City fans can't be able to say that. United fans like to act that they have a God-given right to world-class players nowadays, but separate conversation. We just, I don't know, I just feel like that's what we should be aiming towards. I think we should be. If we got an FA Cup, if we did an FA Cup and Carabao Cup double, would I be happy? Of course, I'd be happy, but I would still want more.
But I think that's part of the journey as well. And this is Jose's first full season. So if you can pick up a trophy, like why not? I think targeting the Premier League this season, obviously with Liverpool's injuries, it might seem more realistic, but I think you should target one of those small trophies to get that winning mindset. Gareth Bale has been brought for the winning mindset. So then maybe next season you acquire more players, then you aim high. You know, you can't have it all straight away. It's a journey, you know, not a season, in my opinion.
I want it all.
And I think just a final point on that one. And I think that when you look at obviously Liverpool, the benchmark, and I'm not trying to just talk up Liverpool because they're the team I support, but Alisson was named the best goalkeeper in the world today. Trent Arnold was the best right back in the world today. But the point I'm trying to make is that Liverpool have world-class players in every single position. So until Tottenham get something close to that, I don't think they're going to be able to win the league because this Liverpool team are just relentless.
Yeah, the Liverpool team are a juggernaut and it's hard to stop. And whereas before I used to swat away any sort of talk of titles or thinking about the title, you know what? The season is a crazy season. Just because I don't believe it truly yet doesn't mean that I should stop any other Spurs fan from thinking it's impossible, because I don't think it is impossible this season. It's just going to be very, very difficult to do. It's that simple. Just my 2 pence on a trophy piece. Before a ball was kicked, if you'd have asked a Spurs fan for a top 3 finish and a Carabao Cup or a FA Cup or even a Europa League, I would be saying yes. That was the season. That was my initial season objective. So I can't be mad at a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. But I do get the need to aspire for more. But I mean, we've not won anything in years. So
beggars can't be choosers, man.
I'll take whatever, man. I just wanted to, so just before we touch on sort of our next game here, because obviously we want to preview the Leicester game, so we want to obviously get you lot's thoughts on that game. It's another big match as well. But before we touch on that, I'm not sure if you lot saw it, but Vertonghen recently put some comments out here. So Ohio's quite rightly put this in the agenda, and reading his comments, I'm not even gonna lie, like I'm not a softie, but I almost said
you are a softie, mate. You are a softie.
It's like, obviously he I can't remember what game it was. It was during our run in the Champions League, wasn't it? I think I can't remember which game, but he got a concussion, and he said that the feeling was lingering in his system for 9 months. And he came out and actually said that in reality, that same game he shouldn't have continued playing, because I think he actually did continue playing that game as well. So I just wanted you lot's sort of general thoughts on just like how football reacts to sort of head injuries and concussions as a whole, because I don't think, just from my perspective, I don't think it's being taken seriously enough. You know, I really don't.
I think today they confirmed that they're implementing 2 concussion subs. So if you do have concussion, you can come off the pitch and they can actually amend it, and you can actually sub the player off, and they can potentially come back on later. But I think it goes back to the game Arsenal versus Wolves, and you're thinking like David Luiz is clearly not okay to continue. Why the heck is he coming back on the pitch? And I think if you do go into a clash like that and you go down in that manner for that long, you shouldn't be able to be allowed back onto the pitch. Just fact, safety over football. And I think too many times players will say, yeah, I'm okay, because they want to continue playing. They're honest pros, right? But you're not okay. So it needs to be taken out of their hand, and hopefully this is the first step to doing that.
I saw Jan Vertonghen's comments, and he said that obviously the pressure was on him to try and earn a new contract, so he just kept on playing. But as Dot mentioned, like the decisions need to be taken out of the players' hands. Like, you know, it's not Sunday league. Like, people should be, you know, be safe for another day, and you don't want to see people retire. I know you guys will know too well. Ryan Mason, he had to retire due to a head injury. In rugby and other sports, it's taken much more serious. And it seems that football's way behind. And, you know, with the money and the investment in football, it shouldn't be. Like, we're seeing all the dementia stuff, people suffering later on down the line. This needs to be taken seriously.
I wanted to hop off what Dej said. I think like coming from, I think maybe I feel a bit more strongly about it. You know, coming from a rugby background, like I've had, you know, 1 or 2 concussions. I actually had a brain contusion once, and I got hit in the chest. I got hit that hard. I actually had whiplash from a tackle, and I didn't realize until 3 days later. So maybe I come from a slightly more anecdotal perspective. I think considering how little money there is in rugby compared to football, it's like you said, there's genuinely really surprising. You know, rugby, I think, what year in 2015? So I think maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, rugby brought in this thing that even went down to uni level rugby, is you weren't allowed to play unless you completed this short little e-module called head case, which was basically concussion awareness training. So, you know, even we were only playing at uni level, we weren't like super rugby level of all the unis, but we weren't allowed to play until we fulfill, and you had to get 100% on it. And it was a bit of a ball ache, like, yeah, it might take like 2 hours. And you know them training modules at work where you got to do the fire. Yeah, like it was kind of like that. But even after doing that, you could just sort of feel at training, if somebody went down and you could see their head, suddenly everyone was a bit like, whoa, hold on a second. Let's check on our boy here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate, you know, Vertonghen made a very good point. Like, there's these external factors that I can't take into consideration as an amateur rugby player, because, you know, he's playing for something that is going to affect the rest of his life. He wants that new contract, etc. But I think I've always felt like football, the higher ups in football, they're not, player welfare isn't as high on the agenda as it should be. Like, I understand it's difficult to fit all these games in, but, you know, just alluding to a point Klopp made, you know, the 5 subs thing, I don't think that should have gone to a vote. That should have just been, look, this is player welfare. You know what I'm saying? I just don't feel like they take it seriously enough. If we're talking about the rules that got put in today, I think it's a start. So, you know, they've now changed it to, I don't know how relative it is to the conversation, but now you can have 9 subs on the bench, which has its own benefit. At first, I was like, well, that doesn't, what's the point in that? But I suppose it gives your managers more options. So that's one thing. And then with the concussion sub, so the way they do it in rugby is if you come off, you have a HIA. Mariah, that one's for you. Mariah keeps saying I've got an SIA badge when I say that, but no, it's a head injury assessment. And then I think I don't actually know what the protocol is, but if you fail, obviously the guy who's come on as a concussion substitute will stay on. You have the option to come back on. But I think they did some research and they said, I think something, it's either 17 or 27 or 37% of those HIA tests in rugby come back as double negatives. So they might pass the test, or like they might know the test well enough to pass because they want to get back on, but they won't be able to go training 3 days later and they'll be out for like another 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, even, you know, David Luiz as well, as an example. I was shocked he would stay on, because even if you don't look at David Luiz, his head has been in a collision where it's cracked someone else's head. If your head is going at that force, you'll come off, like, just as fact. Like, I appreciate you've got, you know, neurological assessments and that. Like, I get that 100%, but it's got to be player welfare first, man. Like, it's disappointing it's taking this long, but I like that they're at least, I can't complain too much now with the concussion substitute. And one thing, I feel like I'm rambling on here, I do apologize, but I know one thing they said, one thing I was a bit worried about was, our manager's going to now tell players to take to, like, I'll just say you hurt your head or go into contact so you can get a 4th sub on. Because, you know, rugby had a blood substitute incident like 10 years ago, something similar happened. So a bit worried about that happening, but I think they said to negate that. So say like Tottenham, say we make a concussion substitute, Liverpool are also allowed to make a 4th substitute at the exact same time. So it could work. It is a trial basis, and I'm glad football are now doing something, but player welfare has to be over everything as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. Couldn't have put it better myself. Very eloquently put. We've only got sort of I wanted to move on now to the Leicester preview, and then just talk a bit on obviously the UEL draw, and probably in you lot's cases the Champions League draw, because I guess obviously big fish versus little fish, you wankers. Leicester's a funny one, really. So Dej, I actually wanted to get your thoughts on this, because Leicester, I'm not sure what to make of them this season, because they've had some really good results, especially away from home. Like, they battered Man City 5-2. They went to Leeds and they won 4-1. They went to Arsenal and won 1-0. But I think we're slowly realizing that means nothing nowadays. Anyway, but they got the second best away record in the league right now. 5 wins, 1 defeat, and they're obviously playing away from home against us on Sunday. So What's your thoughts on Leicester as a whole? And do you feel as if that this is a game that Brendan Rodgers is actually going to get some points or not?
It's a tricky one. I remember last season they took a bit of a, was it 3-0 or something against Tottenham? Yeah, very conclusive and convincing. And as you mentioned, like they're a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know, and that's been my doubts with Brendan Rodgers as a manager. He's a bit of a confidence manager. You know, when things go for him, he tends to go on these streaks. But, you know, other times he gets odd results. Like, I wasn't expecting them to lose against Everton, but their home form has been a very, very sporadic. But away from home, you know, I watched them live, you know, personally against Liverpool. They were very, very passive. Against Manchester City and Arsenal, they were setting traps. You could see what they were trying to do. But against Liverpool, they were pensive. They were sort of just, you know, sitting there hoping without, you know, taking some initiative. And, you know, Harvey Barnes, he's a decent player. He's developing, but he's not going to be as, you know, he misses a lot of chances, should I say. Jamie Vardy is always going to be a threat, and they've had a bit of issues with injuries as well, to be fair. Wilfred Ndidi, he's been a bit of a miss. He's coming back into form, and he's someone that takes a long time to get into his stride. But Tottenham against Leicester, I think Tottenham will win the game. I think Tottenham will win it 2-0, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before I come to you, I wanted to go to Owen. So Owen, just from a tactical point of view, what tactic do you feel will best sort of serve us heading into that game? Because really on the surface, Leicester, we know they're dangerous on the counter-attack. They obviously spoke about the use of Harvey Barnes, raw athleticism and pace. You got Jamie Vardy as well, who's always trying to play on the last shoulder as well. So what tactic best serves Tottenham? Are you expecting Jose Mourinho to go for the counter-attacking approach? Are you expecting Jose Mourinho to go after them?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very different game to what we had in the Project Restart. I know we thumped them 3-0, but they had a very kind of injury-ravaged team at that point. And like they said, indeed, he's just come back. Maddison's just come back to form as well. I imagine to protect our centre-backs from Vardy, we will obviously look to probably end up starting deep and counter-attacking. It's going to be our obvious but main weapon. I'm gonna go with a quick score prediction of a 2-1 win. I know we haven't got the fans, and Leicester's got the good away record at the moment, but I still think we've got enough on the counter to get it done. I was listening to a little bit of one of their podcasts, and they're expecting to go with a 3 at the back, which I think if we've been kind of lining up in certain games with what looks to be on paper as a 4-3-3, but it'll be a 4-4-2 with Ndombele right up against Kane. And I think getting them once their back three like that, with some carefully placed long balls, as we've liked to do, it's kind of against Southampton-esque. I'd like to see a repeat of that, and I think that'll get the job done.
Yeah, because obviously we spoke about the need for other players to sort of step up in our team now. If you're Jose Mourinho for this Leicester game, do you stick with Vertonghen, or do you look to try and, if Gareth Bale's fit, for instance, do you look to try and bring him into the team? Do you look to try and bring maybe like a Lucas Moura into the team?
I think the thing is about Mourinho, and you guys as fans, you're probably critical of Vertonghen, but Mourinho is probably very happy with the role that he's playing for the team, because he works his socks off. You see him in wing back, running back, tackling, and that's why he's in the team. Mourinho said, listen, Vertonghen, I need you to be that support act. If you can get a goal, fair play and get a goal, but leave that to Son and Harry Kane, and you supplement them. And that's what he's doing. So I'll start with Vertonghen again, because I think he had a good game against Liverpool. And come on, anyone can miss chances. At least he's in the positions to miss the chances. But I think going to this game, I think this is a very, very dangerous one. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I think both teams will set up defensively, because we've seen Brendan Rodgers go away from home to big teams and pretty much defend deep, block the half spaces. And I think both teams are going to cancel each other out. And then it comes down to the individual brilliance of Maddison, Vardy, versus Kane and Son. And I think whoever has the better combination between the two players will win the game. But I think it may come down to set pieces as well.
Ohio, I wanted to come to you on this as well, because obviously Dot made a good point there on stopping on two of Leicester's sort of danger men there. So of course we've obviously mentioned Harvey Barnes, but Maddison, Owen mentioned it too, coming into a really good bit of form. I know obviously they lost against Everton, but generally he seems like he's getting back to near his best, the best version of himself as well. And we know Jamie Vardy. Someone made a comment about Jenkins Under's growing relationship with Jamie Vardy as well. So what's your thoughts on our defence and how we go about sort of containing the best that Leicester have to throw at us?
Yeah, no, Jay Spurs is making some good points about Leicester in the comments. I think I really hope that Leicester don't set up to defend the same way we do, because, you know, like Dot said, we will cancel each other out if that happens. But us being deep sort of helps to negate the effect of Vardy. You know, there's when we don't play a high line anymore, where there's absolutely no point in playing a high line against Jamie Vardy, because he's just going to have a party behind you. But I think Maddison, I think Højbjerg is probably going to be on his neck the entire game. I think it's going to be Ander Herrera, Eden Hazard job. Like, he's just going to be following him around like the guy that can't get girls. Like, that's literally what it's going to be. Yeah, I have a lot of feel like it's a bit nasty watching Højbjerg. Sometimes I try to watch him like as if I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm like, this guy, I would hate for my team to play against.
That tackle on Firmino.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need
it.
Do you not remember? Because I'm not sure if you watched it yet. The Spurs documentary. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
There was an episode, and I was at that game as well, that Wolves game, and I was saying the same thing. Yeah. We lost 3-2 to Wolves, and Jimenez scored, and Jota literally ran past like 4 or 5 players, and I kept saying, take him out. At least Højbjerg now, he's in that team. He's gonna take him out.
Yeah, and he was saying that. Mourinho was saying that in the documentary about Doherty as well, that he's a very nasty one. He would take you out. And obviously now he signed him, isn't it?
Exactly. That's what needs to happen. And I feel like Højbjerg definitely gives us that bite in the team. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be interesting.
Though, I'll be very, very surprised if Leicester try and control that game, because if they do go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and try to control the game and play the game on their terms, Tottenham are going to blow them away, and it's going to be a convincing win. So I think the best approach for Leicester is to be defensive, because I think Mourinho is expecting them to come out and play.
No, I think Brendan Rodgers is a smart guy. He saw what happened last season, and he's seen how we're playing this season. I actually don't think he's going to come out and try and sort of play football and try and control the game.
Sorry, just going back to that game last season, because I think Harry Kane scored a wonder goal, just absolutely brilliant. That game was strange because Leicester didn't play badly. And I think
they just got caught 3 times.
And I think that's what I'm trying to say. If they do come out and play, I think that will happen to them again, where you see, okay, they didn't play badly, but you're 3-0 down because Spurs are just a better team than you. So I think if they go up defensively, that's where there will be a bigger threat to Spurs, in my opinion.
It's a fair point. And before we end the podcast, I know obviously I'm looking at it now because I know, of course, we all want to watch the United game. I don't think we have much time to sort of delve on the Europa League, really and truly. But I just wanted to get you
to talk about that competition, Tom.
I'm shame.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know we got Wolfsburg. I know. But I wanted to sort of get your thoughts. I know it's a Spurs pod, but it's a football pod as well. So we talk football. So you lot's away record is a bit funky this season, and you lot are up against Crystal Palace. We spoke about Crystal Palace at the start. Are you nervous about that game at all?
Yeah, I think you have to be nervous. I mean, as you mentioned, we've dropped points against Fulham, Brighton, and you can argue that Palace have more potent weapons than that. And we're going to obviously look to go there and control the game, and the space that would leave for Zaha, Eze, their main protagonists, it can be a scary prospect. And one thing that I'm not comfortable with is our defending on those inside channels. You know, Reece Williams, he's not the most mobile on the term. Fabinho, solid defender, solid tackler. But But I think if you can isolate them, we look very, very suspect. So it's a tricky game. And obviously with the form of Guaita, if he continues like that, it's going to be tricky. But I still think we'll have more than enough to overcome them. And I think we'll beat them maybe 2-1 or 3-1.
It's a nasty game, man. But
I would love it if Eze's got the winning.
Eze scores the winning.
I would love it.
No, I wouldn't. If he did score, I won't be too pissed off, to be faithful. I'm a fan. But I think the biggest factor in favour of Liverpool is that they don't have a crowd. I think even if they had 3,000 fans, that's going to help them. And I think it helped them a lot against Tottenham. It actually pushed them to get that goal. I think if Liverpool start well, I think that's been the biggest problem away from home. We've started too passively. We've allowed the attacking team and the home team to be on the front foot. I think if we start well and control the game early on, we will go on to win that game convincingly.
Yeah, fair enough. Just the last point for me on this. So I wanted to come to you, Ohio, just to quickly sum it up. Dot and Dej may not be aware, but we actually have a cup quarterfinal match next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, or whenever it is. Are you expecting Jose Mourinho to retain some big hitters, or do you reckon we're going to very much see a fully refreshed team, similar to how we normally see it in, let's say, a home match in Europa League?
No, I think we'll get more changes in the Wolfsburg game. I think that's in Feb than we will against Stoke, because the old adage is cold night in Stoke. Like James McLean's not a prick. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got a wicked left foot still at the end. He's not good, but we're like with set pieces, innit? We're like with set pieces. So that's my only thing there. But what we should do, will we have as much? Will big hitters play? I think the big hitters will play. I think Kane will play. I think Son will play. I think Ndombele will play. Probably throw some Winks in there. Do you know what I'm saying? Dilute the set a little bit.
Dilute it,
Can I ask you lot something?
Go on.
What's your take on Kyle Walker-Peters? Because I've watched him for Southampton, and to me, he looks like an amazing right back. So what's you guys' take? Because I remember a few Tottenham fans used to give him sticks saying that he wasn't good enough for this level. But when I watch him at Southampton, he's one of the standout players.
He wasn't. It's not that for me personally. I vehemently argued against any Spurs fan who told me Kyle Walker-Peters can't play in the Premier League. I thought he could succeed at Spurs. I was really happy that he was getting his chance last season. But I felt like with Kyle Walker-Peters, for me, it became quickly apparent that for what we needed of our right back, he just couldn't deliver it for us. But I wanted him to get his move elsewhere, because I was so sure if this guy gets a move to another Premier League club, he's going to do his thing. But you see the standard now. You look at the standard Aurier is setting now. I know that Kyle Walker-Peters has done well at he's done well at Southampton. He's been one of their best players, but I felt like we needed more from him. And
really,
he just didn't. I don't think he brought his best self for us last season. I don't think he did when he played. I don't know what you lot's take is as well, Owen and Ohio.
No, literally, I've spoken quite a lot tonight. Owen, go for it.
It would be just a little bit of basic analysis, because obviously he didn't really get much game time to fully look at him on. But for me, he was really good going forward. I don't think he would have suited the Mourinho side. For one, I felt like he got physically overran quite a lot. Especially like one of Aurier's biggest strengths is that he's actually really good at the back post, in the air, on the crosses, which is a good fit for us. Kyle Walker-Peters, he would have stood out maybe in a Pochettino system where he would have had the license to get forward and, just get into those dangerous areas. But yeah, I just think for me, he wasn't that good defensively. And yeah, it was a good fit for Southampton for him to get that game time to develop that side of his game.
Yeah, I think another point I should have made as well, and it's very valid, is I love Pochettino, but I hated his loan system. I hated any player that was rated at Spurs. He would never let them go out on loan. He would keep them in the first team, and he would limit them from getting valuable minutes that could have increased their development.
That's the thing.
And I genuinely believe if Kyle Walker-Peters had a lot more game time earlier on in his years when he emerged, then he probably could have had a better opportunity at cracking it at Tottenham.
That's true. He should have probably got a loan move in 2017. ish, or straight after that game where he played the last game of the season and got 2 assists against Leicester and was man of the match. He was man of the match for every cameo he played for the first few that he got. Although he still got physically overran defensively in some of those games, but what he offered going forward looked really promising. Yeah, it is a shame he didn't get a loan move then.
I think with AWP, he's clearly a good youth from a good home, but after what Dembele did to him, I said.
What, the game of the Camp Nou? The game of the Camp Nou.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Half line, just ran through. Oh, I remember that goal. That's the images I remember of Kyle Walker-Peters. And I think there was the FA Cup game against Crystal Palace again, where he had a bit of a stinker, but obviously it can happen. Like, he's a young player. He seems to be learning well, and Ralph Hasenhüttl was a good manager. So man, see what he's done to Theo Walcott. And he seems to be doing a good job with him. So,
To me, that guy's a baller. I won't be surprised if he's at a top 6 club in 2 years or so. He's a baller.
Yeah. You know what? Fun fact on that Barcelona one. I've never actually said this on a podcast, but I flew out with a couple mates to watch that game and I needed to take a dump. So I kid you not, I just heard the crowd roar. So I was sat on the toilet taking a dump. I just heard that famous Spanish. Oh, I just heard the crowd. I was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" I cleaned myself up. I run out, and my friend told me, "Rah, we're 1-0 down." I was like, "How already?"
You didn't want to know,
but fine. It is what it is. Dej, we're 6 minutes over, but honestly, lads, thank you for joining.
No worries, bro.
It's been a pleasure chopping it up with you lot. We love the work that you're doing on your platform as well. It's good to see Black Brothers rising as well. So just keep it going, man. And again, thank you for coming in here and dropping some gems, man. It's much appreciated.
I love anytime, bro, man. Love Tobbs, bro.
Yeah,
love Owen as well.
Yeah, man. Love guys, and obviously
love those, love that.
Firmino showed, some strikers had to be a false line yesterday, but we'll keep that.
You had to leave with that.
Firmino's best game this season. But it's calm. We're not going to get into that now. But honestly, guys, it's been a pleasure. Ohio, Owen, see you in the Discord. See you in the chats. If you're still listening or watching, make sure again to follow us on all socials. The podcast TBG guys, make sure to follow them on Instagram and Twitter as well at podcast_TBG. Thank you for locking in. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Also, just quickly, I want that Liverpool fan who was commenting earlier to come in the Discord as well. So I think it was Andrew. I want to see you in that Discord because we do play Liverpool again quite soon. So I want to see everyone there. Same energy.
If you lot are free as well, you lot may as well come into the Discord, didn't it? For the man.
I've never actually tried Discord, I've seen it happen and that, but I've never actually
come in. Honestly, it's not gonna hinder you from watching the match. You watch the match, but you're in the chat, and
it's very hard to be objective in Discords. But I
want Doc's head in the Discord chat. I want his head. All right, lads. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Take care, man. Have a great evening.
Bless.
Love.